5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Television is a drug. Television is a drug. Television is a drug.
Television, the drug of a nation, breeding ignorance and feeding radiation on television.
The death of long hours, the expedience of fathers.
Our cultural rules are being rewritten.
The new equation.
A symbolic figure, a forbidding figure.
A distant and long figure.
Of course, many of us have fathers introduced as embodying masculinity.
Our father, a mysterious figure who, for short periods of time, enters the atmosphere. Our experience of him prepares us for some excluded domain, or he may exclude himself.
The family and its ambience changes.
The child grows up with a truly absent father.
The child of the father deserts reason, unsocial hours and a new abandon.
The father dies.
The sons in every film become lost, bereft of the father, trapped in the search for identity.
The lost boys represent 3 different experiences: death of the father, separation from the father, and an emotionally absent father.
We encompass many stories, the hurt so many feel about their fathers.
The father is absent from the life of experience.
The very heart of their person, their first experience of identity yet to achieve.
We understand the way of detaching from this attachment in order to identify with, accept this. There is no father to identify with.
As the boy reaches out, he encounters an absence, and in that absence his own masculinity is forged.
Severed from the feminine, facing a vacuum, this absence. Child mind is the ambience that the child has absorbed.
Desires, longings, wants, rages, passions have all been experienced within hate and love, bereft of one another.
SI align with loss, the loss about how to identify. We observe the need for attachment through failure. The father has not come.
Somnambulist International, often held together by a need to assert and to reassert the triumph of one's disavowal of the knowledge.
The lost boy becomes a father, a model that is no more than paint by numbers. Fear may propel him.
The sons who suffer, who lose their children or have little access to them.
The last decade opened the way for us to critique our chance to explain different models.
We need our boys to be lost.
Lost tomorrow. We find stories lifted above their deeds, endurance like the gentle rage, like the ancient and still sound within us.
They speak to us.
We think of SI, we look at ourselves.
We own all the negative things of our sensual world.
Our emotions restrict us, the body we encouraged.
SI could never incarnate again in the flesh. No words could you read.
History through the century, a church the Buddhist would never accept.
The highest content of love and the content of transformation, which, of course, is still being accomplished.
At the end of the century, change came not.
Somnambulist International, as it had been so far.
When you passed through, what would result?
You would still want.
You would still want truth, knowledge, and yet you would use your mind.
There would be no ordinary emotion, no direction in these souls.
On the planet Mars, a different type of thinking, a different type of world, a union of too deep, too high, and of no earthly use.
When you live in the world to create your own existence, you can also be engaged in the possibility, through us, the spirit of influence for the future.
I look into the future, and I see the beautiful one called Armageddon on television.
They will have us resurrected, use all sorts of order to the future, and more mock us.
How are we going to approach?
We are not going.
We are not going.
We are still.
We are in our small corner and doing our job.
We live in understanding.
We can instill a sense in others as well.
We as a group and individually apply passion to what we believe.
As long as we can see that we are on our own in the night.
Ghost stares vacantly ahead.
I couldn't bring myself to write about it. I've been trying to forget.
To escape.
But it's no good.
Now tell the truth.
SI will tell you about it. I've complained so much about how tired I felt.
He throws himself into her with his face and sobs.
Never work.
Never, never.
To be dead while still alive. Mother, can you imagine?
That's what I understand.
I've never lived, not in any way.
Tell everything from the beginning.
I began to feel the most violent pains in my head. At first I thought just as a child.
Yes?
I couldn't see. Everything began to swim.
It was the end I sent for. The truth down there.
I began to ask questions. I didn't understand what was driving.
In the end, he said,
You've been worm-eaten since birth. Sex sells. One of the greatest marketing successes of our times.
when times are hard, sex ought to sell.
How to write books for depressed reading.
Female-orientated plot.
Sex-crazed characters.
An atmosphere dripping with more.
How many want a book without any action, without a proper story?
And above all, without love.
How many will fork out good money for a book with nothing more than 4 bare legs in a bed?
Contrary to belief, readers are not sex-crazed.
They are usually.
Married women are looking to exercise their imagination, not just more horizontal aerobics.
With evangelical fervour.
People like reading about it.
More plot means less room for sex, and we want as much sex as possible.
Initiative will betray ignorance.
All we want to read about is one another.
The SI down the years have been masterpieces of foreplay.
The will they, won't they lasts for 400 pulsating pages.
SI love-hate relationship.
Passion fondly came to be and wouldn't take no for an answer.
No one's pretending interest.
We want like a piece of meat.
We want to choose, enjoy the luxury of selection.
We want a plot that winds up and down, in and around.
We want complications and quarrels, tears and reconciliations, horrible mistakes and brilliant triumphs, and the whole thing to feel like the end to it all, in a word.
This doesn't mean the tiresome parade.
No, the shorthand for everything they find. Somnambulist International. Look carefully next time they show the TV news.
There are enough dilated pupils to fill a honeymoon hotel.
To fantasize, to dream, to try things on, try things out, become someone else.
These guidelines represent some kind of breakthrough.
Setting up an erotic imprint is the right direction for freedom.
What kind of freedom comes through very clearly?
All of the body and sexual acts are permissible.
So it's words for all the things.
Nothing is forbidden.
We all read just to find the next dirty bit. I once heard of a reader returning a well-thumbed copy demanding, "Do you know what I really like?"
No.
Returned wondering,
What sunsets came?
"Take away our sunsets, Virgin, please." Wounds, necklace torsos, bleeding genitalia. SI talks about making art in terms of discomfort.
The making of things is very slow.
When you explore an idea or a feeling, it is very difficult when images connect.
It's very painful because your life goes on.
When you prepare for something new, those 1 out of 3 days you don't know where you are.
I am constantly having to choose between pain and terror.
We all long for landscape, for wilderness, but there is none.
The only thing that's left that is wild is our bodies.
Death is part of a great truth that I feel compelled to reflect.
A very vulnerable figure of a man standing naked in an empty space where it's raining. The man is carrying a building. He's going to hell. It's the end of the world.
The world is going to madness.
You own history. You don't feel the special kind of chaos.
You have to imagine more, but nothing is hidden.
That's an invitation to happiness, because all you do is watch and show.
The eye consumes and includes. When you see one thing and not the other.
You end up with a need to get outside yourself, what you know.
This helps me look at where I was before.
Stay close to the moment. You cannot go back.
The seasons, the weather, the passing of time. Poems against my wish. I was so decided.
There are many levels of culture and reality.
Much of modern everything. An odd way of assessing words and ideas.
The test of time is, of course, unknown. But as a historical footnote, we're too busy to worry.
There's so much room in my head. I want things too hopeful to throw away.
They can be found again, recovered if they are forgotten.